The air in the Führerbunker on the morning of April 30th, 1945, was less breathable atmosphere and more concentrated. Anxiety aged over 6 years of strategic miscalculations. Outside the Battle of Berlin was entering its messy, conclusive phase. The Red Army was conducting what sounded suspiciously like an impromptu orchestral performance, using heavy artillery. Inside the concrete tomb, however, the primary crisis was organizational. Adolf Hitler was, normally prone to the kind of booming, chest-thumping rhetoric that registered on seismographs, was reduced to a low, frustrated growl. He was standing in his modest private office, not looking at the maps detailing the Soviet encirclement, but scrutinizing a requisition form for paperclips. "Krebs," he hissed, gripping the form so tightly. The cheap paper threatened to disintegrate General Hans Krebs, chief of the General Staff, a man whose face permanently bore the haunted expression of someone who knew exactly how many Soviet tanks were headed there. Way shuffled forward. He had not slept in 3 days. My Führer. The 1945 stationary audit, Hitler announced, tapping the form. It indicates that the key for storage unit C, where the extra supply of high-grade 100 weight letterhead is kept, is marked as missing, not lost in transit, not destroyed by incendiary bomb. Missing Krebs, swallowed hard. The Soviets were 400 meters away from the Chancellery. Führer. Perhaps Corporal Steiner simply misplaced it during the recent tactical withdrawal. Tactical withdrawal is no excuse for procedural negligence. Hitler exploded, his voice cracking slightly. How can we maintain the structural integrity of the 1,000-year Reich if we cannot even track a simple security asset? This is why we are failing. Not because of Soviet numbers, not because of inadequate fuel supplies, but because of sloppy inventory management. Krebs knew better than to argue the Führer was always eager to locate a proximal cause for systemic failure, and the missing stationary key was far more manageable than the failure of Operation Citadel. The door burst open, and in strode Dr. Joseph, Goebbels' Reich Minister of Propaganda and Public Enlightenment, adjusting his jacket and radiating forced manic cheer. The sound of a particularly heavy shell hitting the ventilation shaft provided his entrance cue. Good. Morning, gentlemen. What a phenomenal day for synergy, Goebbels chirped. I hear the morale is through the roof. Absolutely peaking. I have just issued a press release calling the current situation a morale-boosting urban cleanup initiative. We are simply decluttering the perimeter before our ultimate counter-cyclical resurgence. Hitler ignored him, still vibrating with stationary-related fury. Goebbels, do you know the location of the key to storage unit C? Goebbels frowned slightly, accessing his internal filing system. Ah, yes. Where? We keep the official Reich letterhead, essential for internal memos regarding mandatory dental checkups. Critical asset. No Führer, but I am confident that its absence is merely a temporary logistical optimization, designed to reduce overhead. We are operating lean. Just then, a frazzled messenger burst in, saluting with an unnerving lack of conviction. Message received. Führer, directly from Reichsmarshal Göring. Runner. Hitler. Snatched the damp, hastily scrawled note. It was not a military report. It was a complaint to human resources. Via runner. From Reichsmarshal H. Göring, Supreme Commander of the Luftwaffe. Subject: disruptive noise pollution. Wellness policy violation. The relentless din of incoming foreign ordnance is profoundly detrimental to my mandatory afternoon rest schedule. I require immediate relocation to a structure with superior acoustic dampening. Furthermore, I insist that the quarterly shipment of personalized monogrammed tranquilizers be expedited. This environment is wholly unsuitable for executive-level contemplation. Hitler crumpled the note. C. Low morale. Poor attitude. These men lack discipline. They forget the importance of routine. He checked his wristwatch, which was stubbornly correct despite the collapse of civilization. It is 10 o'clock a.m. sharp. Mandatory. Tea break. Everyone out. We need to reset the corporate energy field before the strategic realignment meeting. The tea break was held in the small dining area. The aroma of stale black market tea and damp earth mingled. Aggressively, Eva Braun sat quietly, meticulously applying lipstick and ignoring the tremors. Cowards. Feiglinge, Hitler suddenly shouted, splashing tea onto his uniform. They blame me. They blame the strategy. But I tell you, the German people, the workforce, they lacked the necessary grit, the passion. If only they had prioritized our quarterly goals with the zeal I demanded, we would have achieved Endsieg by Christmas. Goebbels clapped. Enthusiastically magnificent, Spinführer. Blaming the customer for not buying the product aggressively enough. A bold move. It is not spin, Goebbels. It is a failure to meet projected enthusiasm targets, Lieutenant General. Hans Bauer, the loyal pilot who had been quietly sipping his bitter tea, leaned forward. His face was a picture of genuine, weary devotion. My Führer Bauer began softly ignoring the ringing phone that was, almost certainly, informing them that the Reichstag was about to fall. With all due respect to the current organizational restructuring, perhaps now is the time to consider a temporary strategic retreat. I can fly you out. Argentina, Japan, maybe even a nice low-key villa in the Middle East. You could oversee the inevitable global comeback. From a distance, perhaps, writing a memoir on management failures. Hitler stared at him with cold, analytical eyes. Bauer, did you submit a travel authorization request, TAR, form for this temporary strategic retreat? Bauer blinked. No, Führer. I just thought, given the circumstances, no TAR form. And you expect me to approve? Unscheduled international trip. That is a breach of Protocol 7b, subsection Gamma. And worse, it suggests panic. We do not panic. We pivot. The subject is closed. Finish your tea. At 11 a.m., the General Staff assembled for the Strategic Realignment meeting. A desperate, delusional gathering that served only to confirm how catastrophically disconnected Hitler was from reality. The map table was set up, displaying a topographical map of Berlin, currently pockmarked with so much red marker it looked like a severe rash. General Krebs, supported by the silent, grim-faced General Wilhelm Burgdorf, attempted to deliver the operational update. Führer, the situation is critical. The Soviets have penetrated the city center. We are experiencing heavy personnel attrition. Furthermore, we must address the issue of the recent asset liquidation event. Hitler steepled his fingers. Ah yes, the liquidation, the expense reports. He fixed Krebs with a stern gaze. I need the final L-43, forms for the 6th Panzer Division. It was a high-value asset, Krebs. We need to know where the depreciation occurred. Krebs nearly wept. Führer, the 6th Panzer Division was liquidated in January during the Vistula offensive. They were fighting. Units, tanks, men. You cannot simply file them under office supplies. Consumable. We need to focus on the Soviet Third Shock Army currently surrounding the post office. And how? General, am I supposed to justify a complete loss of a major division in the quarterly review without the necessary documentation? Did you at least note down the serial numbers of the tanks before they were repurposed? Goebbels quickly intervened, patting Krebs reassuringly. What the Führer means, General, is that we need to frame this loss as a successful decentralization of resources. The 6th Panzer Division has merely gone rogue to pursue independent guerrilla operations in the countryside, thus maximizing our agility. Excellent. Operational spin. Hitler nodded approvingly. Precisely. Now to the actual strategy. He approached the map, taking a red crayon, and ignoring the real Soviet forces, marked in blue. I have decided to activate Army Group Vistula. The generals exchanged horrified glances. Army Group Vistula had been shattered months ago. Führer Krebs whispered, Army Group Vistula does not exist. It has been reduced to 2 regiments of elderly men and 1 malfunctioning cannon. Nonsense, Hitler boomed, slamming his hand down near the Tiergarten. I know they are present. They are merely awaiting deployment orders, probably stuck in traffic. I will shift them here, flanking. The Soviet advance through the Brandenburg Gate. He drew a large sweeping arrow across the center of Berlin. Past several known Soviet positions, see Hitler glowed with self-satisfaction. A classic pincer movement. We cut off their supply lines, forced them to divert, and then the 12th Army, which is definitely still intact and not melting away in the south, will swoop in and demand a mandatory productivity review. The bunker shook violently again. A shower of dust, plaster, and grit rained down from the ceiling. Everyone coughed. Hitler immediately stopped discussing military movements. His eyes narrowed, staring upward at the dusty vent shaft. Ah, the true culprit, he declared. The air filtration system. Subpar particulate regulation. This is why the troops lack vigor. The air quality is below standard. I explicitly requested the HEPA grade industrial scrubbers 2 years ago. I bet this is the fault of the Ministry of Public Works. Probably diverted the funds for more aesthetically pleasing municipal flower beds. He paced back and forth, entirely consumed by the HVAC. Failure. Low-quality air leads to low-quality thought. How can our brave soldiers concentrate on filing their expense reports if they are breathing third-rate air? I want a memo drafted immediately, addressed to the chief engineer demanding a full risk assessment of the volatile organic compounds in this bunker. That is priority. One Krebs looked at Bergdorf, his eyes pleading for relief. The meeting deteriorated rapidly after that. Hitler demanded to see the inventory of champagne remaining in the bunker. Criticized Ava's choice of party playlist. 2 Viennese, not enough Wagner. And then turned back to the remaining staff with increasing fury. Look at you, he roared. Lackluster morale is in the basement. Where is the fire, the commitment, the synergy? He pointed at Krebs. Krebs, you have a consistently negative attitude. You are fired. Clean out your desk. Bergdorf, you look like you just saw a ghost. Fired Goebbels, you are too optimistic. It is off-brand. Fired Bauer, you are unauthorized. Travel plans constitute gross insubordination. Fired. Hitler was panting, now triumphant in his organizational purge. I am restructuring the entire high command. We need fresh blood, unquestioning loyalty, and most importantly, someone who understands the concept of effective resource allocation. He walked over to his corner where his beloved German shepherd Blondie was currently sleeping soundly, despite the heavy shelling. Blondie, Hitler announced, petting her head. Effective immediately, I promote you to Chief of the General Staff. You will hold the rank of Field Marshal. You are clearly the most loyal and strategically sound mind left in. This organization you will spearhead. Operation Canine Blitz Blondie. Opened one eye, yawned, and immediately went back to sleep. Goebbels, ever the loyal HR drone, managed to salvage a flicker of enthusiasm. A dog. Brilliant Führer. Maximum loyalty. Minimal salary requirements. Excellent cost-saving measure. Hitler beamed. See someone understands efficiency. He stood back, admiring his new field marshal. Just as the generals were, processing the bureaucratic nightmare of being fired by a deluded dictator who had replaced them with a dog. A massive, earth-shaking crump enveloped the entire bunker. The lights flickered violently, plunged the room into darkness, and then died. leaving only the sputter of the auxiliary generators and the smell of ozone and burnt wiring. The blast was much closer than previous hits, likely impacting the ventilation shaft directly. Above the conference room, through the ringing in his ears, Hitler let out a small, high-pitched gasp. Not of fear, but of profound professional horror. "Wait," he whispered into the terrifying darkness. The sound of the Red Army advancing now, clearly audible just meters above them. Blondie promotion. I did not fill out the official P-34 form. I did not authorize the new rank insignia. We cannot proceed with Operation Canine Blitz without the proper paperwork. He fumbled desperately for a pen in the dark, the end of the world entirely subsumed by the agonizing dread of incomplete bureaucracy.